substances were known to and perhaps employed by first century Judaism and early Christianity. One must also remember the climate and atmosphere of the late 1960s. Today, in retrospect, one tends to think in terms of the so-called drug culture, in terms of a facile ersatz mysticism of Ken Kesey and his merry pranksters of Tom Wolfe, and the electric Kool-Aid acid test of hippies thronging the streets of San Francisco's Haight Ashbury, staging Lovins and Beans in Golden Gate Park. That, however, is only one side of the picture, and tends to eclipse the very real excitement and expectation that psychedelia generated even in more sophisticated and disciplined minds. The conviction shared by many scientists, neurologists, biochemists, academicians, psychologists, medical practitioners, philosophers, and artists, that humanity was indeed on the verge of some genuine epistemological breakthrough. Books such as Huxley's The Doors of Perception enjoyed enormous currency, and not just among the rebellious young. At Harvard, Timothy Leary, with his proclamations of a new religion, still possessed in those days a considerable measure of credibility. In the teachings of Don Juan, Castaneda had produced not just a best-selling book, but also an acclaimed academic dissertation for the University of California. Psychedelic substances were routinely used in both medicine and psychotherapy. Divinity students in Boston conducted a service under the influence of LSD, and most of them said afterwards they had indeed experienced an intensified sense of the sacred, a greater rapprochement to the divine. Even the MP Christopher Mayhew, later Minister of Defense, voluntarily appeared stoned on the nation's television screens, beaming beatifically at his interviewer, wearing the seraphically celestial smirk of a man newly promoted to sainthood. One can see why the academic and critical establishment recoiled in alarm from Allegro's book, even though Allegro himself repudiated the mentality of Haight Ashbury, had never himself smoked or drank. All the same, and even if not for the reasons usually cited, the sacred mushroom and the cross was a distinctly unorthodox book, and effectively compromised Allegro's credibility as a scholar. its reviewer in the Times, for example, became personal, embarking on an amateur psychoanalysis of Allegro in order to debunk him. Allegro's own publishers publicly apologized for issuing the book, cravenly admitting it to be unnecessarily offensive. In a letter to the Times on 26 May 1970, 14 prominent British scholars repudiated Allegro's conclusions. The signatories included Geezer Vermes of Oxford, who'd concurred with much of Allegro's previous work of the Qumran material, and who was soon to echo his complaints about the international team's delays. The signatories also included Professor